Hi, welcome to Africa in Perspective. My name is Nelda and I make videos about Africa from Mondays to Fridays. Today we're going to be answering a very important question, and it is, will Africa ever really develop? My answer is possibly. The reason I'm saying possibly instead of a clear yes or a clear no is precisely because for Africa to develop, a lot of things will need to come together. The very first thing is that the forces that be, the powers that be that are trying to exploit Africa, not trying, but they're actually succeeding at exploiting Africa, they will need to take a step back. Now that could either be voluntary, they could either voluntarily, English is my second language, they could either try to do that by themselves without being forced, or something will need to happen in the continent to force them out. Other than that, guys, we are the most attractive continent in the entire world. We have had the most resources since the beginning of time. It is virtually impossible to wave off these other countries. It's like if you have a dead body and you're trying to chase away vultures, they will keep coming because there's a dead body. They're trying to eat off of it. So that is going to keep happening unless something clearly, like a massive change, happens in the continent, and I definitely think it's going to start with the youth. The other aspect that I think is equally important is that whatever change that should happen in the African continent will need to come from the people of Africa. And the reason I'm saying that is because I was thinking of this analogy. Africa isn't responsible for its poverty in the sense that Africa is not the cause of its poverty, but Africa is responsible for eradicating its poverty. In the same way, if you're ill and you go to the hospital, the doctor isn't the reason you're sick, but it's the doctor's responsibility to ensure that you get healed. So in the same way, we cannot be blamed at the fact that we have been exploited, we have been colonized, we've been used up. We cannot be blamed for that, but we can be blamed for not taking accountability of that change. So you right now, if you're watching this video and you happen to be African, you might be wondering, are there things that I can do starting today that can actually start making a change in the continent? And the answer is yes. Whether or not you're African, this also applies to you. There are three main things that you can do to start contributing to the development of Africa. The very first thing is very obvious, but people often forget it, and it's that you need to educate yourself about the African continent. If I ask you right now, what is Africa? And the very first answer you give me is that Africa is full of resources. That is not a good answer. Not accepted. If I ask you right now, what is Africa? And you tell me Africa has black people. Wrong. If I ask you right now, what is Africa? And you tell me,
well, Africa is a geographical continent.
And you're stuttering, you don't even know what to say. You don't know about Africa. You cannot solve a problem that you don't really understand. And right now, Africa is a problem because we have a lot of issues. Like, I was reading some research in preparation for this video. 90% of African kids cannot read and write by the time they're 10 years old. 30% of kids in Africa who are supposed to be in primary school are not in primary school. You know where they are? They're in mines. They're doing child labor in farms. They're out there playing the field. African parents still need to be told that girls deserve to go to school. Female genital mutilation is still a big thing. People are still thinking in a very backwards way. And one of the ways we can change the African continent and actually develop it will be for our people, and even people who are not Africans. Like, I know my subscribers, some people who watch this are from the UK, from the US, from Canada. You're invited into the conversation. But if you want to contribute to making Africa better, you need to understand the continent, understand our history. There are so many myths that people spread around about Africa. For example, I did a video recently and I was talking about how whether Africa should become one country or not. And somebody said,
well, Africa used to be one country,
and it's high time that we go back. And I was like, where did you get this notion that Africa used to be one country? So we need to remove these notions that we're already holding. We need to change our perspectives of Africa by, first of all, getting rid of the ignorance that we have. Learn the past, learn the present, learn what is going on in Africa, how much progress we've made since colonialism, how much progress we've been making in every single sector. And then that will help you understand the problem in its entirety. And then look towards the future after you've understood the past and you know what you're working with in the present. Number two, if you also want to make change in Africa, the other thing that you can do is invest in Africa. It is very, very weird for me when I hear people say that, well, Africa is poor, so I'm just gonna leave. This is especially true for Africans because a lot of us leave the continent. And I know, again, a lot of my subscribers, 20% are in the UK, roughly 15 to 18% are in the US. And I know majority of you are Africans. What are you doing in those countries to feed back that wealth into Africa? I know, for example, in 2022, Africans sent back home almost $100 billion. $100 billion. Do you see how generous we are as a people? This is something that is already in our blood. It's something that we can do. We can already feed that money back into the African continent. But let's look for other ways to invest in our own continent. Let's not wait for people to come and invest in us, guys. If Africa is to change, that change will have to begin in the hands of Africans. Right now, whether or not you're in Africa, have you bought land from Africa? Have you started a business in Africa? Have you gone touring in Africa? What have you done to contribute to the African continent? And it's not just because some people say, oh, I give away donations, I do this and that. Okay, do you know exactly how those donations are used? Don't be passive when it comes to change. Be very active. Be at the forefront. Don't take a back seat and just expect that things are going to just happen somehow. Because a lot of the times when people talk about Africa's development, oftentimes we just say things like,
oh yeah, Africa needs to develop. We need to get rid of corruption. We need to do this.
It's all these big macro things, but let's distill it down to things that you can actually do. Invest in your continent. And this brings me to the third point, which is especially if you're African, be proud of your identity as an African. That will do wonders for the way you view the continent. And that will be the first step for us also starting to bring change to the continent. Right now, there's so many negative perceptions about Africa, and it breaks my heart. I'll give you an example. I'll tell you a simple story. When I was in undergrad, I did a bachelor's degree in psychology, and I remember what I did for my undergrad thesis. I studied accents, and I had two studies. In the first study, I looked at how Africans perceive their own accents. In the second study, I looked at how non-Africans look at Africans' accents. Now, in the second study, I wasn't too shocked because non-Africans were like, yeah, Africans sound dumb, they sound not confident, they're not as attractive from the voices, by the way, they're not too sociable. I wasn't too shocked. But in the first study, I was shocked because I was like, Africans themselves viewed themselves in a negative light. They viewed themselves as less intelligent, less sociable, less competent when they spoke in their native African accents. But when they switched their accents to try and sound more American or more British, they felt better about themselves. And I was wondering because I was like, this is very curious for me. And it's something that I've seen across the board. But we have so many things to be proud of as Africans. Look at our music. You guys know that Nollywood, the film industry in Nigeria, is the second largest in terms of production. These people are producing so much. On Fridays, I watch Yawa skits. It's how I calm down from the day because the creativity that goes into it. Or like Sabinos, all these skit makers, these are not simple things. We don't see this in other parts of the world, or even if they do, they're not as funny. They're not on the same scale. We need to be proud of ourselves, not just in terms of resources. We have so much to be proud of. And I want every African to walk around as if we are kings and queens, because we always say this to each other. And we even greet each other, because I know a lot of people would be like, oh, hey queen, hey king. And sure, let it just not be something that we say in terms of words. Let it be actually something that we are embedding in our souls, to believe that we deserve equality on this earth. The world can try and define us however they want to. There's stereotypes, of course, and they're mostly negative, but don't let those bring you down. You're an African and you need to be proud of it. We are special, just like everybody else. We're not inferior. We're not low IQ. We're not uglier. I know the world operates on mostly Eurocentric standards, but don't let those confuse you. Don't lose focus of what is meant to be. So again, if you want to take part in developing Africa, the very first thing you need to do is educate yourself about the continent. Invest in the continent and be proud, especially if you're African, be proud of Africa and the achievements that we have taken so far. I know this seems very, very simple, but instead of talking about, oh, let's get rid of corruption, let's change leaders, let's enforce democracy, those seem like very macro, they're very massive things, but the daily steps that you need to take, like read African authors if you want to read fiction, read Chimamanda. If you want to look at news, go look at Instagram and follow news sources that are talking about African stories. Instead of following just the plain BBC, follow BBC Africa. Support African YouTubers, African TikTokers and creators. These things all help. If you want to, if you want to buy sugar, choose an African brand. If you want to send money back home, choose an African company to do that. Invest in African startups. Cheer them on social media. This camaraderie, we need to build camaraderie amongst each other. We need to work together. I said this in the other video that I did about Africa uniting, because I said we shouldn't unite and become one country, but we should still act as one. We should still enforce and empower each other. So that is all I have to say in this video. I hope it's encouraging, and I hope this is firing you up to take action, because again, if Africa is ever to make a change, it should start with us. There's a Swahili proverb. I'm a Tanzanian, by the way, in case I didn't mention it in this video, because I mention it in virtually every video. But there's a Swahili saying that says "Mkataa kwao ni mtumwa," which translates to, he who rejects his home is a slave. If you reject your continent, if you deny yourself of the privilege and the pride of being an African, you are literally a slave. So especially for people who are abroad, again, a lot of my subscribers are abroad. If you're abroad, don't forget about your home country. Remember your people. If everybody runs away from Africa, Africa will forever remain poor, and that will be the story of Africa from the moment you're born to the moment you die. Now, I said I was born in Africa is poor, and I will make sure that by the time I die, Africans are not poor. So I hope that motivates you, and I hope that is a chance for you to also start thinking about how you can make a change, because everybody has a specific talent. Some people have multiple that God has given them. Go use your talents to help your continent, to help your people, and God will take care of you. Thank you so much for watching. I know that, and please make sure to subscribe. I'm on the road to 400 subscribers. I'm 2 people away from 400 subscribers, and then the next journey will be 500 subscribers. So thank you so much for watching, and you'll see me in the next video. Bye.